to Pin Drop Discussions. This is your host, Tyler Parker, and today I want to talk to you guys about the topic of how much does God plan? So the article I wrote was on Non-Apologetically Politicking, the blog. So I just want to shed some audio on it because, I did say that we are changing format. So now we're going to be doing both blog, vlog, and podcast and radio show. So we're going to give you guys a lot of different ways to view the material. So the reason why I posed the question of how much does God plan, or what is the details of how God plans, is to get into this idea or get into this thought process of understanding that sometimes when we believe that things are going wrong, that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not God's plan. And the reason why I addressed it is because I was thinking it. It wasn't because I heard it in conversation. It wasn't because, I was using one of my friends as an example. It wasn't that I went to church and, I heard the pastor talking about it. No, I'm using myself as an example because I woke up and, today is Motivational Monday and I wasn't feeling like going to do any of this, what I'm doing right now currently. I didn't feel like coming to the radio station to do a podcast. I didn't feel like going to class. I didn't feel like going to check on my financial aid. I didn't feel like going to do anything because I felt defeated. And I felt defeated because, the semester hasn't been going the way I wanted it to. And I felt like, a lot of things in life just hadn't been going the way I wanted them to, right? So I was like, well, maybe things are falling apart because it wasn't God's plan, right? Because I've gotten so accustomed to when things go right to praise God. When things go wrong, either you blame the devil or you find some other reason that what you decided to do didn't work. So I asked myself this morning, I was like, because I didn't sleep. And I asked myself, so whose fault is this that things haven't turned out the way that I wanted them to? Because, I'm doing what I want to do. I'm having fun doing it. And I feel like God is getting a use out of what I'm doing, right? Because I'm talking about him and opening people up and, they're definitely having conversations and it's flowing. And it's definitely not things that are normally said on radio, and it definitely doesn't come from people that you expect to hear that from, right? So it's like it's opening different perspectives, it's opening eyes. So it opens my eyes. I can't speak for anybody else, and it just made me think like, okay, well, if my plan isn't working, then whose plan is it? And the more I sat there and thought about it, the more I contemplated like, well, how much does God actually plan and how much detail goes into God's plan? Because I've heard a few times that, well, God doesn't care about this. God doesn't care about that. God doesn't care about this. Like, how could he? How could God have time to care about all these things? Like, everything can't matter on the same level that these big things matter. Like the issues that go on in Serbia can't be the same as me needing a glass of water and not getting up to get it. Like those two problems aren't the same, or one homeless person isn't the same as, people in Iraq and Iran and that are trying to, find a place to live. It can't be the same thing because those are like war-torn countries, and it can't be the same. It can't be valued the same, right? And I was just thinking like, okay, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is valued the same. Maybe God looks at it the exact same way because he has a plan. I don't think his plan ever changes. I don't think he ever says, well, this isn't working, so let me alter this plan. I believe he may have altered the plan like once or twice. Now, I haven't read the whole Bible, but from what I have read, I know that God's heart was changed by, was it Noah? No, it was Jonah. It was Jonah. And when he was talking about the people of Nineveh and how evil and wicked they were, and when God saw that they had changed their heart, that he changed his mind. Now, I remember that. So I know that his mind did change at one point, So from my point of view, I'm like, okay, well, maybe what's going on now is God changed his mind. Maybe I'm not the one that's hearing wrong. I'm not, maybe I'm not so messed up. And that's kind of what I want to believe, is I kind of want to have this idea of God rather than what he is. And that's human of me. It's very humanistic to try to make God in my likeness versus believing that I was made in his. And I think a big part of that comes from my understanding of good and evil, my understanding of good and bad. So when I believe something is bad, I associate it with me not understanding enough for it to be good. That's the level that I'm at now. I'm like, well, nothing is truly bad. It's just some things need to happen, right? And so I begin to understand that God doesn't necessarily deal in good and bad. He deals in necessary. Like he has one plan. He has one goal. And the goal for him is to get as many people as he possibly can into heaven, to believe in him. But he's not going to force anybody. So he does that by giving people words, giving people signs, giving people gifts, giving people talents, and trying to allow them to see him in a way that doesn't cause confusion. And it's very hard to say that, because people nowadays will say, well, everything can cause confusion, and it can, because you can have you can have too much information that causes confusion, or you can have too little information that causes confusion. And that line of unknown is confusing, right? So it's confusion everywhere. But you really have to focus on what it is that you can come to understand as God. And I don't believe it's what one person can come to understand, or two people, or just like a religion. I don't believe it's like a religion that can get it right. I believe it's a relationship that you have with God that tells you, okay, this is real. Because I'm not going to dispute anybody's claims of what they say is real or what they say is not real. All I know is, to me, Jesus is real. And I would tell people that all day. That's what I do. And I don't do it by beating people over the head. I just do it by living my life. And I feel like getting to those low points and understanding that it's necessary, that it's not a bad thing to fail. It's not a bad thing to have low energy. It's not even a bad thing to argue with people. It's not a bad thing to be frustrated. It's not a bad thing to be at your wit's end, to not know what to do. Sometimes those are when the best and brightest ideas happen, when you get to those points where you have to say, okay, it's not working for me, but I know that it will work because I still have breath. I'm still here. And obviously there is a plan. I just don't know it. And that's kind of what the article was talking about. So hopefully you got something out of that. And today is Motivational Monday. I hope you go and you're encouraged and you're able to do something positive today. Love on somebody. Be loved. Be encouraged. And continue to be great. And I hope you guys have a great day.